Hi guys, how's it going today? I'm excited because today's tutorial is going to be a Luma Star plushie. So let's just get into the tutorial and I'll show you guys how you can make one of these super soft and adorable little Lumas. So the first thing you're going to do is get some yellow fleece, a nice pair of fabric cutting scissors, and some yellow thread, and a pin cushion with some needles and your preferred pins and just whatever needles you like to use. You need some polyfill stuffing and your pattern. I just went on Google and printed a photo the size of a Luma that I wanted. And a little bit of white fleece for the eyes. And a Sharpie marker or a fabric marker just to draw on our pattern. So you're going to take your yellow fleece, which is the body of the Luma that we're doing. You can do any color you like, and you're going to lay the pattern on top of it and lightly draw on the pattern. Just trace it. You're going to do 2 of these. I recommend flipping it upside down on the other one just so that if your fabric has weird texture on one side that it's not different on both sides. Then we're going to cut out the Luma shapes. And we're going to cut them out all around on the red line. I've sped up the footage for you guys, but feel free to pause the video at any time if you need more time to do a certain part of the instructions. Okay, now that we have our 2 pieces completely cut out, I'm going to flip one and then lay them on top of each other so that they are exactly lined up. I'm going to flatten it out and just try to make sure it's as equal on both sides as possible. You can trim if you need to. Take your pins and pin them together. This is to help it stay together whenever we're going to sew it. Alright, now that this is complete, we're going to take our yellow thread and we're going to sew these 2 pieces together. Take your needle and thread, and after you've tied the end of it off, we're going to skip this little bottom section, like the very bottom, and we're going to start on the corner of the leg. We're going to sew it. Just use whatever stitch feels the most comfortable and most secure to you. I just do a simple straight stitch, nothing fancy here. I don't want to go to the edge because if you don't sew a little bit inward, the red line will show up whenever you flip it. So just make sure you're sewing a couple centimeters inward. I'm going to speed through this part as well. Make sure you have really tight stitching. Once you're done with that, tie off the end and make sure it's good and cut it. And then remove your pin from the bottom. And now we're going to turn this entire plush right side out, just like I'm showing you here. Make sure you use your finger or a tool that is meant for this to push out the limbs of the plush. This is to help maintain the shape. It should look like this when you're done. And now we're going to take the shape and we're going to stuff it with polyfill stuffing. Make sure not to overstuff it because that can make these seams break, especially since this is hand sewn. We want to be as gentle with this as possible while also making sure it's completely stuffed and plushy. Now it looks really good and soft and squishy, just making some final adjustments here, and that's pretty much how it works. Now we're going to take our needle and thread and sew this little opening shut. You're going to take your yellow needle and thread again. And we're going to close this opening. I would use a hidden stitch on this part. My stitch work isn't perfect, so just bear with me here. Okay, now you're going to cut this part off and tie it like the other parts of the plush. It looks amazing. It's nice and soft, not too stuffed. Perfect. Now this is the part where we're going to add our eyes. I just take a small little extra piece of white and cut out two longer oval shapes. You can make them as big or as small as you like, but I tend to make them as close to the photo that I printed out as possible. Going to put them on and see what they look like, and then I'm going to take my pin and attach it so that I know where I'm going to put it, and sewing is a lot easier this way. Now we're going to take our white thread and we're going to sew the eyepieces onto the plush. You could also use some fabric glue to do this part. I just choose to sew them on because I like how much more secure it is, but if you are strapped on time, you can definitely use fabric glue. right, now tie that off and cut the excess. And it's almost complete. We're getting there. Now's the time to paint on the eye detail. I like to use a non-toxic fabric paint here. It's puffy paint, but you can use any kind of non-toxic fabric paint that you like that is permanent. You want to make sure it is permanent so that it won't wash off if you do get this a little wet. I'm going to just start by drawing a big circle and then 2 smaller ones. You can do any design. You can do little stars in the eyes or whatever you like for this. You can also just change the color up if you don't want it to be black, but I chose to just do this one traditionally. I like to go on the outside of the shape just so that there's no white edges showing of the fleece. And do the other eye the same way. Try not to leave any white specks. Very cute. And that's how we made our cute little Luma star plush. This is a great gift for all ages, and the paint is non-toxic, so it shouldn't hurt anybody if they do happen to put it in their mouth or whatever. I've had so many people buy these as presents and decorations for their bedrooms and their parties and stuff, so you can do any color, any size, honestly, but I prefer these little bitty ones because they're just so darn cute.